thank you very much for the invitation. I was supposed to, I guess, to be there probably in the first BDTech, that was for DG Place, but it was not possible for me to be there, and last year as well. So I'm very, very happy this time to be with you. And that would be, for me, the opportunity to provide you with some insight about what we are doing in the ECTP. And it's not, in that case, about technology per se, but it's more about the needs. And considering that we are, of course, technology aware, how we imagine and what are our views on, indeed, in a very near future, leveraging on the potential of construction data spaces, on indeed the digital twins and various types of digital twins, and also, of course, on artificial intelligence technology. And what is important is that, well, the ECTP, which is the European Construction Technology Platform, roughly speaking, it's, let's say, the leading membership organization in Europe trying to influence and promote research and innovation for the construction sector as a whole. So in some way, we are listening all our members, but we are listening also beyond our members. We are listening all of you. We are trying to work out with you what are the needs, what are the challenges, and what are indeed the future needs for research and innovation. And then we, of course, are back in general to many people, to the European Commission, to convince them, of course, to support indeed the research and innovation that is undertaken by all of you. But of course, in this case, what we try to do is that we try to prepare, of course, with all of you and with our members, what are the needs for this future research and innovation. And as I mentioned to you, of course, we cover the whole construction industry and the whole construction and built environment sector. So indeed, the ECTP is divided into different committees which are focusing on different topics and domains of interest. But of course, one of the most important, and which is a cross-cutting domain for us, of course, is digitalization in building. And what is very, very important is that for the time being now, we do consider that, of course, automation and digitalization is a must. There is no way to discuss this. And that we want, of course, to leverage on all the ongoing development in terms of models and ontologies, in terms, of course, of data streams, in terms of standards, in terms of new innovative digital technologies and applications, to improve the whole life cycle built environment in a twin transition. So there are two things here. The first one is that we do need and we do want to consider all use cases, all potential use cases in a life cycle approach. That's the first point. And of course, in this twin transition, which is the one which is digital, okay, but the other one, of course, is this green transition. And we want to do it both, of course, in supporting all the activities in the construction process, but also, of course, in better managing smart or, let's say, smart or smart-ready buildings, and districts. And the last point is that we want more and more to really consider no more that we are erecting building and putting people inside the buildings, but indeed that we are listening to people, and that we want to design buildings which are really user-centric and user-driven, and where they will be able to interact with their environment. So for that, of course, and I'm not getting into the detail of this, but we are interested and we are dealing with all those technologies. But basically, being aware about those technologies, our key members, who are, for instance, contractors, industrialists, innovative SMEs, and of course, research center and universities, they want to define in some way what is the best use of those different technologies. So what we have done, and this picture is now becoming a little bit old, but let's say that when we started to define the strategic research and innovation agenda of ECTP, we have done it, of course, as far as the digitalization domain is concerned. And we have defined it in a way that we want indeed to digitalize the construction value chain, to help this construction value chain to be more competitive, to be more circular, and at the same time, of course, to better assess the impact and potential of building infrastructure components of the construction sector from, I would say, from the point of view of the built assets, okay? So trying to achieve the impact. So we have defined, I'm not getting into the details once again, but we have defined these views, leveraging on the famous, of course, data 5C, and the various already existing and ongoing developments around static models, dynamic data, semantic models as well, and also, of course, developments around data analytics and artificial intelligence. And we have considered at that time that there was indeed, in some way, two parallel worlds, but working together and exchanging together. One which is really on the digital twin, semantic digital twins, or cyber physical system, as the repositories of data first, of course, leveraging on models and ontologies, but data, because we first need data, and the cognitive systems, which are indeed resounding in some way on those data. This is something which is important for us because, well, there is a kind of a complexity with the built environment. If you want to move from a passive buildings, which we are still facing today, most of them, which are passive building, to an active and smart buildings, indeed you need to collect and process many data, and you need to interact with the users and the citizens. So we tried, for instance, in a first step, and that was a work also done in a very specific project, European project called DigiPlace. We tried to define on our side what is a construction data space. We have many interactions, of course, with our environment, and in particular, for instance, we have this kind of definition which is inspired by Open Day, which was a project, a leading project in the context of the freeware initiative, and which tried to define what is a data space, not implementing just a common database schema, even if it's model-based, but indeed based on distributed data stores and how we are going to link those data stores or integrate data from those data stores, but of course on an as-needed basis, and considering a semantic level which corresponds to the activities, to the application that we want to put in place. And another point which is very important for us, based on shared policies and rules for an effective and trusted sharing of data among the value chain customers and stakeholders. So roughly, it's all about this kind of magic triangle, you know, between data, models, and computerization. And what is sometimes a little bit difficult is that computerization can lead to new data, okay? And now you can generate, for instance, with artificial intelligence, we are all talking about generative AI, but you have also a RAG technology, which is generating more than indeed a synthesis of a single set of collection of data into various documents. So the important point to us is, of course, to which extent the value is indeed reliable, what is the quality and the usefulness of the data, and which are the best suited digital tools to manage it, or how we can improve our tools to improve indeed at the end of the day the use of the data that we have. So considering overall this concept, as I mentioned to you, there is a dedicated committee, which is a DB committee. Sorry, I forget probably to put the acronym, but it means just Digital Built Environment Committee, where we have currently launched two task forces, one on the data lakes and construction data spaces, and another one on digital twins and AI. And the objective for us is first, well, this has started at the end of last year and should continue until the end of this year. And the idea is to share a vision among the CTP members, most probably first, shall I say, and primarily from a functional point of view and an applicative point of view, not necessarily from a technology point of view, because about technology, we're relying on all of you guys, and we trust you. That's not a problem. But we should talk together, probably more, in order to better match, indeed, the need and the technology. So we want to achieve this vision, to capitalize on the state of play, and to elaborate on the further progress, and what are the needs, maybe, in future research and innovation. And of course, with keeping the idea that at the end of the day, if we want to achieve an impact on the industry, probably part of this impact can be measured in terms of adoption rate in all future projects and development in the construction industry. So you can see that in those two task forces, one, by the way, the first one is led by Techniker, and Francisco is here somewhere. Yes, he's here. So he's the leader of this task force in the ECTP. The other one is led by Li Zhenmong from Norway, who is working indeed on digital twins and AI. And what we try to do is not, of course, to reinvent what you are doing, but really to consider indeed what are the main needs and requirements, and what are the technical considerations that we need to take into account. It means in terms of model, which are ontologies, in terms of different type of data spaces, and also potential alignment with standards or with ongoing development. And we do more or less the same, of course, with the aspect of digital twins and AI. So what we have done, I would say, is we want to stay humble, of course, and we have first, as I mentioned to you, concentrate on ECTP members, which represents, roughly speaking, 160 stakeholders in Europe involved in research and innovation. So we have tried to define which would be the use cases they would be interested in. And so you can see here on the construction data spaces, what are the four key use cases we are working in. One is of specific interest, I guess, to many of you, because you are all working on developing solutions to deal with the digital building pyramid, the digital building logbook, also the digital product passport that we are trying to develop in relationship with EcoWise. And I know that, yes, Gulfem is somewhere, and there will be a presentation later on this. And also on the smart readiness indicators. We have worked out with the European Commission 5 years ago to start this idea that we should have these kind of indicators. And it's going to be now integrated in a directive, which is the EPBD directive. And on the digital twins, we have, for the time being, defined four use cases, four main class of use cases, I would say. Natural language-based AI algorithms for permitting environment, energy asset digital twin, circular digital twin, and digital twins of facade testing facilities. And we may consider some others in the future, for instance, related to simulation or construction side. I just put two examples here, which are more in that case coming from myself, to be fully honest, than from the task force. But these are, of course, these kind of things that we are going to deliver. I can see that there is timing here. So I guess that I have to rush. But anyway, I would like to give you just few examples on that, very, very quick example that we try to support, of course, our members also in their projects sometimes. Meta Building Labs, not getting into the detail of this project, the idea is to develop a EU-wide network of testing facilities for new building envelope technologies and products. And by the way, there are two other sister projects with Meta Building Labs, iClimabuild and Meseroi. Try to develop an innovation services and tools for coaching for SMEs and innovative technology providers, and have indeed a single entry point to what we call the OITB, which is kind of a concept, Open Innovation Test Bed, which integrate indeed a network of test beds which have some specific characteristic. Thanks to a one-stop shop platform, which is called Meta Building, and we have created a Meta Building Association. We have the president with us of this Meta Building Association, Tom, but who doesn't know Tom? So that's the main idea. But what is interesting in this specific work is that what we have tried is that we have decided to go for the development of digital twin for indeed OITB. So, and the first point is that you can see here the initial O3-BET digital twin architecture. O3-BET means that for dedicated for specific in OITB, well, this must be open source, open data, open access, and have those characteristics. And thanks to the digital twin, we want to digitalize and streamline indeed the overall modular testing process. So it's very, very focused in some way. Monitor the testing environments in different contexts, simulate different scenarios, and explore design options. And of course, this means that we are managing different types and subtypes of digital twins, sometimes fusing it and considering, of course, digital twins from the components, but also, of course, from the environment in which you are indeed driving in some way your product. So when you will have the presentation, you will be able to have more information on those two papers that I've put in my presentation. But, well, let's say that roughly speaking, for the time being, what we do is that we consider, of course, BIM technology, IoT devices. We have integrated simulation, and that has been indeed all this realized by LIST, by the Luxembourgish Science and Technology Institute. So simulation with Energy Plus, but we have also machine learnings to predict unknown variables because we not necessarily have all the information in models or ontologies. And at the end of the day, we deal to those data spaces, construction data spaces, but this time under the form of semantic graph databases. Yes, semantic graph databases. And what we have developed as a prototype, of course, in that case, time's up, so I have to run, is indeed a kind of an end-user dashboard, which is a kind of demo front-end application to achieve the overall user experience, and a facility page when the O3 bet is in some way monitoring. And you can see that we deal both with BIM data, with sensors data, and of course with the operation on all those data to generate additional and new data. So I will probably skip this one. There is also another point, another thing which is very, very important, is that we would like to have consideration, we would like to take consideration about the more and more complex EU policy and regulatory landscape managed in one way or the other in our future construction data spaces and digital twins. And this is, for instance, something that we are currently trying to elaborate in the context of another project, where indeed what we do is that, for instance, considering the huge mass of directives, of European directives, which are the one which could be interesting from a sustainable finance point of view for future development in the construction sector. And this is in general something that manufacturers and construction companies are really struggling to deal with. So we have started, and it's really a prototype and a very basic or preliminary proof of concept. But we have tried to develop a first conversational query engine in order, indeed, based on LLMs that have been customized for this specific application, to see how we can support, indeed, improving the knowledge of regulations for the construction stakeholders well, in the construction sector. Sorry to confess that for the time being it's running under deep sea, but okay, well, it's not really about European technological sovereignty, I confess that, but well, we will try to improve on that. And this is probably nearly my conclusion. We have been, of course, working with some of you guys on following first the development of the Sphere project, which was instrumental, I do believe, in launching many initiatives around digital twins in the construction sector. We have also tried to support, indeed, and the launching in particular of different working groups, but I'm referring to the working group 2 on open technology framework and the development of the ontology network catalog. And based on what we are going to do, what is going to be developed in the task force currently, what we would like to do, of course, is then to a little bit more match and map what is done indeed in BDTA with the use cases and the interests of the members in ACTP. Which is about, yes, mapping those use cases with the generic use cases that you have been developed. And this is probably a part of this work which can be done indeed in this phase 2 of the WG2 of BDTA. Something else also, unfortunately don't have time to get into the detail of that, but in the context of Build for People co-program partnership that we ECTP are managing with the European Commission, we have launched a network of local or regional Build for People innovation clusters. So innovation clusters focusing on the objective that the Build for People co-program partnership. And what we want to do in those local or regional innovation clusters is also give them more and more awareness and knowledge about digital twins. And I can imagine that this is going to be done with, of course, BDTA. So, at the very final conclusion, digital twin, no way that we can challenge that anymore. We need them, but we need those digital twins, of course, to connect with construction data spaces on one side. And we need some specific characteristics. We really need having data governance, data interoperability, but we also need that those digital twins are empowering individuals and also supporting the business on one side, and also favoring innovation and competitiveness. So you are doing this blue sky research, but we want to leverage on your blue sky research to, of course, improve innovation and competitiveness in our future built environment. So I'm going to stop here. If not, well, I get that probably those guys are going to cut my head. So anyway, thank you very much.